One telegram, 7 words. It almost tore the British Empire in two. In January 1933, Australia's cricket board sent London a cable accusing England of unsportsmanlike play, and for a moment two nations stopped speaking about cricket and started speaking about war. How did a game of leather and willow drag prime ministers into the room? The answer begins with one man, one plan, and one batsman he could not stop. A young Donald Bradman, averaging almost 100. Stay with me because you'll see the field Douglas Jardine drew in secret, the delivery that fractured a captain's skull, and moment number 3, the riot in Adelaide, where 50,000 fans nearly stormed the field and ended Test cricket forever. If you love cricket's greatest untold stories, subscribe now. New legends of the game arrive here every single week. This is Bodyline, the series that almost broke the sport we love. To understand Bodyline, you must first understand fear. And in 1930, English cricket was terrified of one man. Donald Bradman was 21 years old when he toured England that summer and scored 974 runs in a single Ashes series, a record that still stands almost a century later. He made 334 at Headingley, 309 of them in a single day. He was not a batsman anymore. He was a problem. And the man given the job of solving that problem was a cold, aristocratic Oxford graduate named Douglas Jardine. Appointed England captain in 1932, Jardine studied hours of film of Bradman batting. He noticed something. Against short-pitch deliveries aimed at the body, the young Australian occasionally flinched, occasionally stepped away. It was the smallest crack in a wall of genius. Jardine decided to hammer it open. He called his plan leg theory. The Australian press would give it a darker name, Bodyline. The tactic was brutal in its simplicity. Fast bowlers would pitch the ball short, aimed at the batsman's ribs, throat, and head. A ring of fielders, up to 7, would stand on the leg side, waiting for the fending glove or the desperate deflection. To execute it, Jardine needed weapons. He found them in 2 Nottinghamshire miners, Harold Larwood and Bill Vose. Larwood could bowl at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour on uncovered pitches, with the accuracy of a marksman. The England party sailed for Australia in September 1932. What waited for them was not a cricket series. It was an ambush disguised as one. The first test in Sydney gave the world a preview. Bradman was absent, ill. Stan McCabe played an innings of extraordinary courage, 187 not out, ducking, weaving, hooking bouncers off his nose. England won. Australia was rattled but not yet furious. That would come. The second test in Melbourne saw Bradman return. First ball, he dragged a bouncer onto his own stumps. Bowled naught. The stadium went silent as if someone had switched off the sound of an entire country. Australia lost 1-1 became the mood of a continent turning dark. And then came Adelaide, January 1933, the third test, the match that almost ended cricket. On the second afternoon, Larwood struck Australia's captain, Bill Woodfull, over the heart with a delivery of ferocious pace. Woodfull dropped his bat and staggered. The Adelaide Oval, 50,000 strong, roared with a sound witnesses described as animal. And then Jardine did the unthinkable. He turned to Larwood and said, loud enough for Bradman to hear at the non-striker's end, "Well bowled, Harold." Then he signaled his fielders across to the leg side and set the Bodyline field against a captain still clutching his ribs. The crowd exploded. Mounted police moved to the boundary. English players later said that if one Australian had jumped the fence, thousands would have followed, and the test would have become a battle. Later, in the dressing room, England's manager Pelham Warner went to check on Woodfull. The Australian captain, half-dressed, looked up and said the sentence that would echo across the empire. There are 2 teams out there. One is playing cricket, the other is making no attempt to do so. The words leaked to the newspapers within hours. And then it got worse. The next day, wicketkeeper Bert Oldfield edged a Larwood delivery, not a Bodyline ball, into his own skull, fractured, carried from the field. And in that moment, the Australian Board of Control sent the telegram that would shake 2 governments. They accused England of unsportsmanlike conduct and warned that unless Bodyline stopped, friendly relations between Australia and England were in jeopardy. The word unsportsmanlike detonated in London. To an English gentleman in 1933, there was no worse accusation. The MCC threatened to cancel the tour. British cabinet ministers were briefed. Trade between the two nations, wool prices already collapsing under the Great Depression, was suddenly on the table. Diplomats spoke of an imperial crisis over a cricket match. Jardine refused to bowl another ball until the word was withdrawn. Astonishingly, under pressure from London, Australia withdrew it. The series continued. England won 4-1. Bradman, the god, was reduced to a mortal average of 56, extraordinary for anyone else, catastrophic for him. Larwood took 33 wickets. And then the reckoning arrived. Back in England, the establishment quietly turned on its own weapon. Larwood, the working-class miner who had done exactly what his captain ordered, was told he must apologize to Australia to play Test cricket again. He refused. He never played for England again. Jardine, the architect, was pushed out of the captaincy within a year. The laws of cricket were rewritten. In 1935, the MCC formally outlawed direct attack bowling. Fielding restrictions on the leg side followed. Every helmet worn today, every bouncer rule, every ICC code of conduct traces back to that summer. Larwood eventually emigrated to Australia, of all places, and lived out his life in Sydney, welcomed by the very country he had once terrorized. He and Bradman, decades later, exchanged warm letters. Jardine, brilliant, brittle, unloved, died in 1958 of tick-borne fever contracted in what was then Rhodesia. He never apologized, he never explained. He simply believed until the end that he had done what was necessary to beat the greatest batsman who ever lived. And here is the strange, uncomfortable truth of Bodyline. It worked. It stopped Bradman, it won the Ashes, and it nearly destroyed the game in doing so. If this story moved you, subscribe to Cricket Chronicles and hit the bell. Next week, we tell the story of the Tide Test of 1960, the match so impossible it changed cricket forever. Don't miss it.